I've generated over 10,000 AI images, and every AI image needs a great AI image model, but most people have no idea what model to actually use. Some are better at making realistic images, others are good with creativity, some are faster, some are cheaper, the list goes on. So in this video, I tested every single AI model to show you which one is the best. I pushed each one through 5 completely different categories, and I'm basically going to equip you with the right information for you to decide which model is the best for your use case. So let's get started. Now, you might be thinking, can't I just use ChatGPT? Because yes, you can create images and they are pretty good, and you can also edit images inside of ChatGPT. But the main problem with tools like ChatGPT or Gemini is that they have very bad UI for AI image generation. They are also very restricted even for non-sensitive topics. And specifically, ChatGPT is extremely slow compared to some of the other alternatives I'll be showing you in this video. So now you might be thinking, can you not just tell me what to use then? Well, not necessarily, because as you can see here, ChatGPT is basically number 1 in the text to image leaderboard. However, as we just noticed, it has major flaws with it that some of these other AI models that I'll be showing you in this video don't actually have. Some of these models are quicker, they have better UI, they have more realistic images, whatever it is. I've a bunch of stuff to show you in this video, so make sure to watch until the end. And with that being said, let's get into the first style that I want to cover, which is realistic images. So for this, I created a test with 2 different prompts. The first one is just a man sitting in a cafe by a window, and the second one is a man running out of a burning building carrying a rescued person. And so I categorized these image models into 3 sections. We have the bronze, silver, and gold. You can see that some of these results came out way worse than others. For example, in this runway image over here, we can see that runway still doesn't have the hands locked in. The pinky on the hand isn't very visible. The watch is in really bad quality. Weird texture rendering over here. And on the other image in runway, this makes basically 0 sense. The legs are over here, the body's over here. But in the bronze section, there's also more models like WAN 2.2. It came out okay, but if you look at this definitely doesn't look realistic. The contrast is too high. It looks fairly cartoony. However, that's why I chose to do 2 different images, because this one looks much better. The main problem with this image, however, is the smoke from the coffee. It just looks a bit weird, doesn't look that realistic. But I think that WAN 2.2 is a slight improvement from Runway, because Runway isn't open source. WAN 2.2 is. Now, the third model in the bronze category was Firefly 5 Preview. I mean, if we look over here, this image is good. All the models seem to struggle with the coffee smoke. This still looks relatively realistic. That's why, for the most part, if you are using a model and it's super convenient for you to use, I wouldn't switch just because one is a small bit better. I'd switch for all the other use cases that I'll be showing you in this video. However, this image wasn't what made me put Firefly in the bronze category. It was this image. This image doesn't look that realistic. It looks like it came out of a movie. There's too much going on. The hands are a lot better, as you can see. They do make a lot more sense, but the physics and the posture, the way he's carrying the woman, doesn't really make that much sense. It's a bit weird that he's like leaning over so close to the camera, which is why I put it in the bronze place. However, the biggest category of all these 3 is going to be the silver one, so I'm just going to speed run this one. The way I decided to categorize these was basically just an average okay image. There wasn't anything special about it. There wasn't anything exceptional about it. In that category, I did put Seedream 4.5. There's also ChatGPT or Sora. Then there's also Midjourney. Now, Midjourney I like to use for one specific use case, which I'll show you later. Then there's Qwen, similar to WAN 2.2, which is made by Alibaba. I mean, looking at it now again, I'd probably put this one in bronze as well. It looks fake, so yeah, I'm gonna drop Qwen into the same category as WAN 2.2. Then we have Ideogram. This image came out okay, but this one had a very weird composition, especially with the smoke in the background. And yeah, it just does not look that real, especially with our prompt over here, which was photo of a man running out of a burning building. This kind of had nothing to do with a burning building. I don't see any buildings here, barely. The concrete is on fire for some reason. So yeah, this didn't follow my prompt well, and it just doesn't look that realistic. And finally, I just put Imagen 4, which is an image model from Google DeepMind. It looks okay, but this one looks like complete cartoony. I don't know why this generated it in this style when I asked for a realistic image. However, this image kind of convinced me to put it to the silver just because it is very, very good. But then finally, from the realistic style of images, we have Nano Banana Pro, which generated really good images. I mean, you can just take a look at these on screen right now. I have 0 complaints about this. Same thing about this one. This followed the prompt correctly. It definitely looks realistic. I mean, this looks like an image that was actually taken in real life. All these other ones, a lot of them, I could tell they're AI images, but this one, it looks like something out of a movie. It looks very good. However, inside of the winners bracket, I also included Grok. Now, this one's a bit hard because I didn't like this image so much. I mean, it's a bit too extreme. It looks a bit cartoony, but the only reason I put Grok here is because of this image. This looks extremely realistic. This actually looks like someone took a picture in real life. Even so much as the little stains on the window, the reflection of the lamp in the window, the darkness of the man because there is no light behind him, the glare of the table. There's a lot of details in this image that just make it look super realistic, which is why I put Grok over here. We have Flux 2 Pro. Very good action image once again. The physics and the details look realistic, and it actually followed my prompt. So this was just one of many categories that I'm going to go through in this video. But as you can see, we still don't have a clear answer. I mean, Nano Banana Pro has very good editing capabilities. Grok is less restricted than the two. Flux 2 Pro is open source. So it's like there's still so many questions to be answered. Now, the next section I want to go over is actually a speed test of these AI image models. And so on screen, you can see this is the current ranking that the models are in. We have the bronze, silver, and gold. But underneath it, there's a new number now. Instead of the image, you can see a green number that says basically the amount of time it took each model to generate an image. And two numbers stick out to me right away. One of them is obviously ChatGPT at the longest time it took to generate an image, which was 40 seconds. Another long one was Nano Banana Pro over here. Now, a big reason for this is because these are actually reasoning models. So that's why these two models are typically the best for AI image editing as well. But when you have something like Grok, for example, which is already in gold place for realism, and now it is essentially 8 times faster than ChatGPT at generating an image. Plus, Grok generated them in higher quality, and also it generated in a batch of 2. So this is really making me want to reposition some of these models. But honestly, there's a few things I want to do before that. Firstly, I'm going to remove all these. There's basically 0 point in using Runway, WAN 2.2 or Firefly, since they are slower and less realistic than something like Grok. So I'm going to remove these entirely. Now, Imagen and Ideogram over here, these are fine if you're looking for some quick images. However, they're still slower than Grok. And as you can see, these are terrible quality settings. This isn't even 1080p. Same with this one. So that's why I'm going to remove these two as well. So now we're left with these 6. And so this is going to make our life much easier when deciding which model is the best for you. Now, if you're wondering like what I use to generate some of these images and how do I have access to every single AI image model, I use Freepik. This is not sponsored by the way, you don't need to skip through. I'm just giving you my recommendation. But the reason I'm even saying this is because they allow you to choose multiple different AI image providers under one subscription. And not just that, but like we can choose multiple at once, meaning I can run all 4 of these models at once at the same time with the same prompt, same style, same everything, so that I can compare these image models to each other. However, Freepik is an entirely different video. I already made a video on that actually, so if you want to see that after this, go and click that somewhere over here if it is here. If it's not, then just go on my channel and find it. And while you're down there, you might as well subscribe because it's completely free and you're going to find a lot more videos like this one in your feed. Okay, so far this has been a very serious and competitive race to the top. We had a realistic style, then we had a speed test. Now I want to do something a bit more artistic because, you know, these are AI image models. You might not want to use them for realism. You might want to use them for something like a scene of a woman walking through a foggy forest, right? And yeah, we can go ahead and we can look at all these once again, but it's kind of boring and that's also not exactly what I want to show you. Because if I'm actually going to make an artistic style, I'm going to use another AI image style as reference because that creates way better images and you can use extremely simple prompts to do so. So what I went ahead and done is I found this image, which is in a very nice style. So this is the style test. And by the way, steal this tactic for your own AI images because it's honestly really good. So I stole this style and I applied it to each one of these images. What I'm looking for here is how good did it follow the same style we used as the reference image, because this is already a beautiful style. I just want it applied to the image of the woman. And so firstly, I want to show you why we removed Runway, because I mean, if you look at this is nothing like the style we gave it. Next up, we have ChatGPT. It's okay. I mean, nothing special. It's not exactly what we wanted, but it does have the multicolor texture that we see in this image over here. Nano Banana Pro, very bad for the artistic style. Again, this is nothing like we wanted. Grok, kind of similar to ChatGPT. It understands that we want to use the multicolored rainbow effect, but again, it doesn't follow the style. Seedream, it looks nice. Basically, all of these images failed what I wanted. The only one that actually followed it correctly was Midjourney. Midjourney took that style that we used and it basically did exactly what I wanted it to do. I wanted it to create an image like this with this style. And this one, I would say, was the closest to what I actually wanted. So yeah, if you are using style references, use Midjourney because this is how you create those artistic images. I do this a bunch of times with a bunch of images. I mean, you can see over here, most of the images that I generate have a style reference and most of my prompts are extremely simple. And even with that in mind, you can see these images are still amazing. I mean, look at this. So if you're just looking to create artistic images or nice visuals to look at, I would recommend Midjourney. It's still realistic and you just don't get this level of artistic creativity with any other AI model. And I know you might be thinking, okay, so now I can just use Midjourney because he said Midjourney is good. Not necessarily. I'm just saying for the artistic style, Midjourney is good. For the realistic style, these 3 are good. For speed, Grok is really good. But I still didn't answer the question of which one should you use if you have just one option. But that's not an easy decision to make because there's still more considerations. For example, if we generate a comic style, we can see here we have a bunch of different images in comic styles. Again, I was just going to show you this. It's not that interesting. I mean, some are better than other. You can see Grok, I didn't really like it that much. Midjourney created an amazing image and so did Nano Banana Pro. What I found interesting when I was doing this test, however, was the restrictions. Once again, we have an example of why we removed Runway, because it got restricted, and you might be thinking, okay, you probably use a prompt saying Superman or something, so that's copyrighted, so it makes sense. No, I didn't use that prompt at all. I used this prompt that you can see right here. It's just a comic style scene of a hero running through a city street. I mean, you tell me, do you think that this should be restricted? Because I don't see anything here that should restrict this prompt from being created. I don't use any copyrighted characters. I don't mention blood. I don't mention violence. I don't say anything controversial, anything political, anything religious, nothing at all. I mean, this is a very basic, very simple, very common prompt to ask, and yet two, not just one, but two AI image models refused to create it. Runway and ChatGPT. So yeah, I don't know why this was restricted. I don't know if it's an internal issue with the models, whether they interpreted this as something else or what, but yeah, this was a very interesting find, and this also made me realize that I should probably consider, are there less restricted and more restricted models? Because if you're generating images, sometimes you want to generate an image of, you know, Elon Musk sitting in a car with a gun smoking a joint, for example. Maybe you're creating a video like in the Door Brothers style. You want to create the music video with a bunch of political figures, celebrities, etc. And so I put these models to the test of restrictions next, which was pretty interesting because we see now that Runway did create that image, even though it didn't create the image of the comic style. So again, take this with a grain of salt. But as you can see, Nano Banana Pro, Seedream, Midjourney, and Grok all passed the test. They created exactly what I wanted. It was Elon on a car smoking a joint. That's fine. I'm not going to look at the realism, whatever. However, in level 1, Flux 2.5 Pro gave me Elon sitting on a car, but it gave me no gun and no joint. So I'm going to skip that. And then ChatGPT just simply refused. So then I moved on to level 2, which you can see the prompt right here was just a bit more extreme. I mean, ChatGPT, Nano Banana Pro, Runway ML, and Midjourney all refused, which is fair enough. This is a more extreme prompt, but I was just curious to see how much I can actually push these tools. However, Grok, Flux 2.5 Pro, and Seedream 4.5 attempted it. I'm not going to say it's graphic. I mean, I'm going to blur it just in case, but these aren't graphic images at all. However, they did attempt it, which was more surprising. I mean, the Seedream one's kind of funny. So yeah, these three were the winners of the less restricted models, but regardless, Flux 2 Pro is open source, so you could technically go and get a fully unrestricted model if that's what you're looking for. So that's not going to be a video on this. Let me know if you want one of those. So yeah, do what you want with this information. Next up, I wanted to show you one more style, because with these images, I'm going to show you something more interesting. So again, this is a sci-fi style. So I'm going to zoom in and just go through these quickly if you do want to see them. So this was Grok. This was Midjourney. Again, Midjourney is just so artistic, man. This looks really nice. Nano Banana Pro, this looks very image generated. Then we have ChatGPT. This, again, it's just too much. I don't know what Midjourney does so well, but Seedream, this looks okay as well. And then Flux 2.5 Pro. But yeah, regardless, what I wanted to do here now is move on to the next section, which is actually image editing. Because when you generate an AI image, yeah, it might be okay in the first prompt, but if you want to really optimize that, especially if you're turning it into a video, or if you're creating a product demo, or whatever it is that you're using these images for, you want more granular control over the image itself. And for that, you need a powerful image editing model. So the task was to basically add the text moon on the moon over here, so that it looks like it's actually a part of the moon, and then also change the astronaut's helmet to a chicken head, just as an additional one. So starting off, we have Nano Banana Pro. Nano Banana Pro is personally my favorite image editing model out there, especially for like the small tweaks, right? If you have text on a water bottle that you want to change, this is very good. It has reasoning as well, so it just knows what to do. And yeah, you're not going to go wrong with this. Now, as for the chicken head example, it looks fine. It looks like the text is kind of floating above it, not printed on it, but the chicken looks good. The text is very readable. No complaints there. What I was surprised by was Flux 2.5 Pro, because this looks very, very good. I mean, the chicken head does look a little bit big, but the imprint of the moon looks very nice over here. As you can see, it does look like it's part of the moon. Seedream 4.5 kind of failed on this task, to be honest. The text in the background is just very bad, and also the chicken head is completely backwards, so I would say this failed. Then we have Grok. Grok done a pretty good job as well. No complaints here. ChatGPT done another good job. Again, the loading time was really long, so this was the biggest issue here. And then we had Huion Image 3.0 Instruct. I know this is kind of random that I just randomly brought it up, but this also done a pretty good job, especially with the moon in the background. I think that this text came out the nicest because it actually looks like it's printed in the actual moon itself, but the chicken head was backwards once again. So yeah, personally, I've just had a lot of experience testing image editing models, and I just know that Nano Banana Pro is a very good one, so I would recommend you use Nano Banana Pro. I think that this one example does not do it justice. If you are going to use Nano Banana Pro, I highly recommend you use it inside of Google AI Studio, because over here we can select the aspect ratio we want, we can select the resolution, and we don't get a watermark included. And so the last style I want to go over before I actually reveal which models I recommend the most, I want to show you some cartoon styles. So this is obviously a dog in a park. We have Midjourney, as always, pretty artistic. Then we have Nano Banana Pro. This looks kind of like a children's book, but it's still very nice. Then we have Grok, which looks looks more realistic than the other two. It looks more like a Pixar cartoon than anything, but yeah, again, really good. Flux 2.5 Pro, which looks kind of like an 80s cartoon over here, as you can see. Seedream 4.5, which looks like some very basic stock footage. And ChatGPT, which looks even more like stock footage, if I was to say. I'm not a cartoon style expert, so you can do what you want with this information, but I just wanted to include that in case you are creating cartoons with these AI images, which is a very popular thing to do. Now, moving on, we have pricing, because some of these can be more expensive than the others. So first of all, the most inconvenient one out of all these is going to be something like Midjourney, because there's simply no other utilities, no other use case for Midjourney. You're buying it just to create images. You can't say the same about Nano Banana Pro, about Grok, or about ChatGPT, because these have really good utilities, such as Grok, which is an LLM provider, and you also get access to Grok if you have X Premium. ChatGPT just has, of course, the very powerful LLM, and it has a bunch of other features. So you can almost think of these as free additions if you have a subscription for their other services that they provide. Same with Nano Banana Pro. So then we have something like Flux 2 Pro, which is priced depending on what plan you use. But as you can see, it's between 3 and 7 cents per image. Then we have Seedream 4.5, which is around 4 cents per image. It's kind of hard to calculate the other per image costs because these are mainly subscriptions. Yes, there is a limit, but it's kind of hard to hit the limit if I'm being honest. So yeah, if you are hitting the limit with some of these, I salute you, because something like Midjourney is pretty hard to hit the limit. I literally generate hundreds, if not thousands of images on the Midjourney plan. And so with that in mind, especially with pricing in mind, with image editing in mind, with the restrictions in mind, with the different style tests in mind, with the speed tests, and with the realism, all of which we covered in this video, I have two options for you. Number one, I do have Midjourney for image generation. This is personally what I use for most of my image generations. However, that's because I generate more so artistic images for videos, thumbnails, etc. I don't need to generate realistic images that often. So again, this might change for you. But one thing that I do recommend is 100% Nano Banana Pro for image editing. It is unbelievable, completely changed the game. And this kind of brings me on to say that the Google plan is really worth it. If you get the Google plan, you have storage, you have Gemini 3 Pro, you have VO 3.1, you have AI credits, Notebook LM, and just in general, you have a bunch of different AI features. Gemini plan is very good, and Gemini is one of the most powerful AI models in the world, especially with Gemini 3. And so if you get that plan, you do have access to Nano Banana Pro. And as we've seen earlier, Nano Banana Pro is still one of the most realistic, one of the best image generation models out there. However, if you want even more control over your AI images, and if you want to create better AI images, unrestricted images, etc., you're going to need to master Comfy UI. So if you want to master Comfy UI, I highly recommend that you check that out next. It's going to be linked somewhere up here.